A tree is a work of nature. A wooden window is the work of man. A solid growing tree has strength and natural protection against the elements from its bark and the moisture in its fibers. But once it's cut and machined by man, its bark gone, it rapidly loses moisture. So when the wood is shaped into a window frame and back facing the elements again, over time it can twist, warp, split and rot. Yet a wooden window remains a beautiful thing with a proud heritage. And for houses with a history, maybe in a conservation area, wooden windows may be the only option. So wouldn't it be perfect if you could combine the traditional beauty of wood with the durability, quality and advanced engineering of the 21st century? Well, now you can, with wooden windows from Anglian. Windows made from cabinet-grade timber which won't warp or twist. Each individual component laminated from layer upon layer of selected timber, assembled, matched and glued to achieve maximum durability, strength and stability. Precision machined to exceptional tolerances so that every joint is an exact fit to provide constructional stability and exclude moisture. Vacuum preserved to force protection deep into the fibers of the wood using a balanced combination of insecticides and pesticides, which will combat rot and fungal deterioration. Painted with an electrostatic process more usually seen in the motor industry, which builds layer upon layer of high-grade paint into a dense protective layer which a bespoke craftsman could never equal. And classically styled with a timeless quality in details like fluid putty lines, mitered joints and delicate beading which belies the enormous strength of its laminated construction. You may find you'll spend more time admiring the window than admiring the view. The quality of any wood frame begins here, while the tree is still growing. Those branches up there will leave their mark on the wood in the form of knots. When the tree's turned into planks, these can bleed and stain the finished carpentry, or even shrink and drop out, leaving a hole, not what you want on your window frame. So Anglian selects only the most stable, knot-free wood from down here, below the lowest branch. They call it sideboard timber, not only because it comes from the sides of the tree, but because it's good enough for cabinet making. Sadly, most joiners would think sideboard timber was a bit too expensive for window frames. So they opt for wood from higher up the tree, which not only has knots, but being a solid piece of timber can, as we said earlier, warp, twist, and even split. To completely avoid these problems, Anglian selects the highest grade timber and laminates each section of the frame from no fewer than 3 separate pieces of timber. A process which not only adds strength, it stabilizes the wood's natural movement, and the 2 outer leaves are made of sideboard. As a result, every frame will retain its shape without twisting or warping, and all its visible surfaces are blemish-free, knot-free and joint-free, the perfect surface. But perfection has to be more than surface deep. Every joint must fit perfectly too. Handmade joints can be loose, weakening the structure and letting in moisture. Each Anglian joint is cut to a tolerance of 0.2 of a millimeter, time after time. Precision only a computer can achieve. Anglian's factory not only has the blades and the machines for almost every imaginable project, it has a man whose job is to keep them all razor sharp to ensure an excellent surface finish. This is vital when you have a really large challenge, for instance a curved head window. For this, we create a laminated blank onto which the computer will scribe the exact design using precision blades to achieve the perfect cut and the perfect finish. Machines like this allow almost any shape of window, historic or modern, to be replicated. Trees can resist the elements for centuries, but without proper preservation and protection, the life of wooden windows in the face of extreme conditions can be much shorter. So, once each piece of timber in an Anglian window has been machined, it's preserved in this huge barometric chamber where the air is drawn out. Preservative is applied under pressure, The vacuum and pressure forces the preservative deep down into the wood, and a final vacuum draws away any excess moisture from the surface. Notice that the joints have been cut before the wood is preserved, because making joints after applying preservative, especially if it's only been painted on the surface, can result in raw, untreated timber being exposed. And even if the artisan frame maker has bought in pre-treated timber, there's a good chance that every adjustment he makes will just shave off that vital protection. Look closely at rotten windows, and you'll probably see where the decay began. The end grain at the ends of the sills, on the unpainted areas that get wet when the windows are open, or where the paint flaked off to expose a surface-treated or even untreated joint. At the factory, after the wood has been immersed for at least an hour, the pressure is released and the tank opened. The vacuum and pressure has ensured the mixture has been forced deep into the fibres of the wood. The preservative Anglian uses is both non-toxic and easily recycled. The wood is tested to ensure it's thoroughly absorbed the treatment. It will now be over 25% moisture content before it makes its way to the slow drying room. Here, the heat is carefully regulated to ensure the wood gently returns to its normal moisture level, leaving the wood completely preserved. But whilst preservation looks after the inside, what looks after the outside? The part that will suffer the worst of the elements. Anglian finishes its windows with the same process used on high-quality car manufacture. The primed woodwork is hooked up to an electrostatic system through which a charge is passed to actively attract the spray to the surface. Look closely and you'll see the paint wrapping itself around the woodwork in a fine, even cloud. It dries to a smooth thickness of between 100 and 150 microns, equivalent to a minimum of 9 coats of ordinary paint. And you wouldn't get that on a window made by a local joiner. We care so much about our windows that when the paint has dried and the glazing is fitted, every single window frame is checked using an ultrasound device called a positector to make sure the correct thickness of paint has been achieved. But that's not quite the end. The sealed units and beading are installed right there in the factory to guarantee a perfect fit and a perfect weather seal. Your selected window furniture will also be added and the whole unit given a thorough quality check. At this point, traditional joinery firms will generally hand over your windows to someone else to install. But not Anglian. They supply and fit your windows, so the job is smooth, quality is assured throughout, and you don't have to do a thing. So, if you are investing in wooden windows, shouldn't they be faced with blemish-free, joint-free sideboard timber, laminated so they don't warp or twist? Shouldn't they be precision machined to exceptionally fine tolerances? Shouldn't they be vacuum preserved deep in their grain and have a paint finish equivalent to at least 9 coats of conventional paint? Shouldn't they have energy-efficient sealed units and be fitted by expert installers? And as Anglian Home Improvements are famed for their PVC-U windows, which are guaranteed for 10 years, we offer that same level of reassurance with our craftsman quality wooden windows. Wooden windows from Anglian. Heritage products, engineered to last.